It's almost like as we discovered electricity, and because all what you're saying, even all these old cathedrals and all these cymatics, I mean, this is pre-electricity. Like
Yeah.
this is so far before any technological advancement that it reminds me of like math class, how maybe you learn how to do long division, but then you get a calculator and then you never have to remember how to do long division again. And now you get ChatGPT and it can just do it for you. So we in our brains actually get to be more and more lazy because the tech sort of takes over for us. And so without
Right.
having that tech to lean on, by going into these states of meditation or these different states of consciousness, they were actually tapping into deeper, more real truths. Then all of a sudden our brains got lazy because we had electricity and we had calculators and and it just kind of has kept going.
Well, I mean, it almost feels like they were more plugged into intuition, because if you look at some of the greatest
Totally.
examples of scientists throughout time, all of the greatest scientists were intuitive. I mean, yes, they were able to produce it empirically. That's what made them great scientists, not great philosophers. They were great scientists because they could take that intuitive information that was coming to them from realms beyond their understanding and condense it down into formulas and, mathematics and models. And I think that if you're looking at the ancients, of course, they were still very intuitively drawn to the nature of the planet, to the rhythms of the energy of the planet. And I think that if you are in that type of mindset, you're going to be intuitively downloading a lot more. And so they, wrote down and drew these geometries, and they figured out the mathematics of pi and the golden ratio just from looking at rivers and observing things and understanding nature. And they didn't understand it from a physics perspective or a fractal geometry perspective or the Planck level of physics perspective, but they did understand it in a different spiritual metaphysical way that couldn't be fully evidenced. It's kind of like, that's the weird thing, and that's why it feels very clear to me that like science and intuition need to come together, because intuition does get there first. It gets there first without the evidence, but it does get there first. And it's basically a given without any exception in terms of like big existential things throughout humanity. The intuition has already got there. And then hundreds of years down the line, we empirically evidence it through chipping at the bedrock of reality. And it's a lot slower of a process. And I think it's a lot slower of a process because intuition seems to cut straight through the material, right? It goes right down into the Akashic field or whatever you want to call that. And the physical approach of studying the environment that we're in, that's a lot slower. You're actually observing the matter. You're trying to break through these different boundaries. Consciousness goes right through it down to the bottom, gets the information, comes back up, but with nothing in its pockets. The science puts something in our pockets. And I think that these two things are now coming together in a pretty weird way.